You'd think by now I'd know what I was doing with podcasting because I've been doing it for a while.
I don't think anybody ever knows what they're doing.
Right. I mean, it's art. Who cares?
Right. Right.
At some point...
It is what it is.
At some point, we're finding joy where we are.
Exactly where we are.
So,
hopefully.
Yeah.
That's the goal. If we can all give ourselves a break, then we can.
Welcome to Woke Up West Virginia, where we talk to progressive people putting in the work to make our home wild and wonderful for every West Virginian.
I wanted to jump right in with somebody who has definitely been putting in the work in the community.
Thank you.
This is Sarah Stone, and we know each other through the church.
Yeah, through the Unitarian Universalist. I actually met you, it's been a long time, but you definitely a vendor at one of our events.
Yeah, probably Witchy Weekend.
Probably Witchy Weekend. Maybe River Arts.
Maybe. Well, I actually didn't do a lot of River Arts.
Okay.
Because I was if you all know my backstory, Dottie the Psychic. You can see my tattoo brand new right now. I was a professional psychic for a long time. I may someday go back to it, but definitely on pause for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how
our place is our congregation is a place where I hope all people feel welcome and like they have a home. That's the goal.
I know as a pagan, like the Unitarian Universalists, I'll probably put in a cut in here about, like I put like a voice in over explaining what the Universalist Unitarians are.
And you're a new member.
Yeah.
Okay, so I am going to speak more passionately than factually about the Unitarian Universalist. If you want to learn more of the structure and like the actual guiding principles as they're written out, you can check out the UUA.org, which is like the national, I don't know if it's international group. Or if you want to learn more about this particular congregation, you can come Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Or you can check out the website, Charleston WV.org. I honestly, just come and meet us if that's something that actually genuinely interests you. And I will say this, we kind of call ourselves the unchurch because it has the structure. Like, there is a building where we go and we share fellowship and spirituality and a love of humanity. And there are guiding principles that are very humanist. You can be an atheist Unitarian Universalist. Well, or agnostic. I guess you would have to believe that we have... I don't think you have to even believe we have this all. It is basically humanism. It is basically humanism, and then you're allowed to have your spirituality, whatever that looks like. So long as you can recognize the humanity in other people. It is, in some ways, feels like the cure to this nihilistic individualism and disillusionment of the system. It is a very progressive church. When they say all are welcome, they mean it. We mean it.
So I joined the Universal Unitarian as a pagan, like an out and proud, like Metro Valley Pagan Pride president.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Our pagan community at UU has gotten much bigger over the past 4 or 5 years. There's always been a presence. And just like with any church life, it ebbs and flows of like what's important to people and what's important to the community. And so we've really turned into a place where people feel comfortable being who they are. I'm really proud of the fact that we have a lot of trans people in our congregation, some members, some friends, where people feel safe and they feel like they can be exactly who they are and they could be met in that space and be loved on. And I'm really proud about that.
You should be very proud of that. I know that you're, like, part of the reason, because we could have had, realistically, just about any member of this congregation on here, because I do know, like, there is a lot of people in this church that put in a lot of work in the community.
That's right.
And so definitely I want to promote them.
We're definitely social justice oriented, people oriented, and
so didn't you do a sermon? Well, I don't know if they call them sermons. They call them.
Yeah, I think they call them sermons, homily, talk, whatever. Yeah. I've done a few. I usually do the Jesus ones. I do Easter and I do Christmas, and I did one about SOAR. I've done a few.
That's you know what? That's a good segue. Let's talk about SOAR.
Okay. SOAR, West Virginia. First I am the congregational administrator at UUC, and then my other job is I am the co-director of SOAR West Virginia, which is a scrappy nonprofit community grassroots group that really focus on like dignity and health of people who use drugs and people who are experiencing homelessness, and people's rights are always getting trampled on, and there's always people that are more vulnerable, and certainly the people everywhere, but in Charleston, who are experiencing homelessness or who use drugs are up against a lot here in Charleston. And so that's what we do. We do Save a Life Day. We have Unstuck Chuck, which is a community cleanup, and then we have our monthly mutual aid.
That's very cool.
Which we just had last night. And that's why I was like getting back here, because I go back to that church the next day and make sure we didn't leave any litter. So I had to run down there and make sure there was no trash left. So that's what I was doing.
You know, you all set up how many of these naloxone boxes have you set up around town?
So I believe we have 7 in town. Every one of the Vandalia CAMCs have one, so that's 3. We have one at UUC. There's one at the Women's Health Center. There's one at the West Virginia Piers, which is on Tennessee Avenue, 408 Tennessee Avenue. And then we have one at the Living Aids Memorial Garden. So I think 7.
I gotta put mine back. I've got my naloxone. I took it out while I was on vacation.
Out of your car?
Out of my bag. Because I try to keep it like in my purse or in my backpack.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of sad that in West Virginia you don't know when you're going to need that.
You do not know. It can be very surprising. My son called me last week and he said, I guess they have their own lingo. They said, fentanyl bend. If someone is fentanyl bending, are they overdosing? And I said, are they on their feet? And he said, yeah, they're on their feet. I said, no, they're not overdosing, but that person may not want to be alone. They may be like riding a fine line,
Right.
And his friend had been walking to the gym and saw someone that he was concerned about because they were bending at the waist on their feet.
Right.
And he didn't want to leave them because he didn't know, like, is this person okay? Are they about to die? Like, what's happening here? And so that was really cool that he called my son and said, what do I do here? Is this person okay? And they were able to, message me and say, what should we do here? And it means a lot to me to be raising children who give a shit about people. Is this person safe for me to leave? And so that, to me, that means I'm doing a good job because my kids care and my kids are participating in their community in a meaningful way. So I feel like that means that we're making an impact.
That's amazing, actually.
Yeah.
So I know, like, for y'all that don't know, if you're watching this, you're probably from West Virginia, and you probably know that we have been staring down the barrel of dual drug epidemics. It's meth and it's fentanyl. Mm-hmm. Or it was heroin, but now it's so much fentanyl.
There's just no heroin anymore. It's all, and it's other drugs. We have a tainted drug supply in the United States, but specifically in West Virginia, where you really don't know what you're using.
Yeah.
And so testing your drugs and really getting familiar with what you're putting in your body is really important to keeping yourself safe, because you can't fight what you don't know,
right, right.
And so we're learning about new drugs all the time that are making their way into when I used to use drugs, it was like baby laxative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I
It wasn't
do.
this. It wasn't
Like,
this.
if you bought cocaine and it was shady, it was full of like
baby laxative or
baby
vitamins
laxatives,
or something
Tylenol
like that.
Sometimes,
Yep.
something like
Baby laxative. I'll never forget. Now it's not that. It's these major tranquilizers that are really hurting people.
hospital grade. Like this,
Yeah.
this is the stuff that is used like chronic pain. I remember when fentanyl started out, it was all those pain patches.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
People who were like chronically ill and dying, like you had to be like demented or dying of cancer to get
Yep.
those fentanyl patches.
Yeah,
And
this
it
is
started
different.
just
This is
leaking
different
into
stuff.
the
Yep.
community that way. So I know somebody who went to buy cocaine and they got fentanyl and died.
Yeah. I have many people that I've shared meals with that aren't here anymore because of unsafe drug supply and unsafe practices. You know, drugs have been around since people wanting to feel different and needing to feel different has been a human condition for as long as there's been humans, you know? And the drugs do exactly what the drugs are supposed to do. Where we have a real problem is our response to that. Someone uses drugs and somehow now they are less of a human being, or, you know, our reaction to the drugs and to people who use drugs is what really needs some work. Somewhere along the way, the war on drugs, we lost our compassion. We lost...
Well, I mean, it's a war. That's the opposite of compassion.
Right.
Some people took that war word very, very...
Yeah, I mean, it kills people. We're killing people
Right.
with the war on drugs. And drugs do what they're supposed to do. Our response to people who use drugs is what needs fixed, you know?
Right.
Because someone uses drugs, a lot of people use drugs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, a lot of people use drugs.
I mean, like, and just to space this out, because I know I'm sure that a lot of people who people may think that they're above it, but like, who
No.
doesn't drink coffee?
Right, exactly.
Who doesn't like? And don't be wrong, like,
It's part of the
who
human
doesn't
condition.
Smoke a little grass,
Yeah.
you know? Who doesn't smoke
Somehow
a little grass?
society has made some things okay and other things not okay. And that's really how SOAR came to be. In 2018, the Charleston Health Department had a syringe service program, which is great.
Right.
And
That's
it
harm
became,
reduction?
it's harm reduction, and that became the center of the major mayoral election that was about to happen. And so this thing was spotlighted and the community started dividing. They closed down the harm reduction program there over the Charleston Health Department. They were seeing hundreds of people a week. Hundreds of people were having safer practice. This is before naloxone was readily available to everybody. They were getting naloxone. They were getting education. They were getting,
And
STI
addiction
tests.
services. Like,
Right.
it's not like, I want to make sure that we are highlighting that they were also getting what help they could to get out of the situation.
Sure. And really giving them the ammo they needed to make good decisions for themselves, you
Right.
know? So they shut it down in the middle of a political hoopla. And so hundreds of people each week were no longer getting the services that they needed. And that was 2018. So Trump was already the president. And so people already were like banging their chest and really feeling like they could say and do whatever they wanted to do to other people. And I will never forget reading in the comments a lot about naloxone and Narcan and drug reversal, and people really having the audacity to say they should only be able to use that 3 times, 3 strikes, and then you're out. Like, as if to say, oh no, this person has already had their overdose reversed X amount of times, so it's time for them to die. It was crazy shit, and that's really how SOAR was born. One of the folks that was running for mayor, J.B. Akers, who I believe is a senator, maybe I don't know what he is. He's in the Capitol, a lawmaker. he had called the line to get into the syringe service program over there a cattle call, and said it was a bad look for Charleston. They needed to shut it down. It was super gross. Let's shut it down. And so our first action was a ice cream. What did we do? Ice cream social. We went down and we served ice cream to people, and we had these signs that people put on, around the neck with PCR. I am a nurse. I am this. I am a sister.
Right.
I'm not just what I've done. I'm not just what I do.
Right.
Outside of his office, to draw attention to the fact that the way he was speaking and moving through this campaign was gross. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's not elect this guy. They were following people around with cameras in the community, like people who are unhoused and things like that, putting them on social media.
I know West Virginia
shaming
has a
people.
real problem with poverty porn, and
It was bad. It was bad. Like, there are no restrooms for people in Charleston. So if
No.
you live outside, what do you do? If you go downtown, there are signs on almost every door. Bathrooms are for customers only.
Yeah.
And so they would catch people peeing outside, video them, put it online, that kind of thing. So it was really gross, and it was really intense.
deeply humiliating. Because
Oh, God.
I don't think people realize how close any one of us could be to homelessness.
So close.
Like, I think that people tend to think that the unhoused were just, like, spawned from nowhere.
Have you heard the one where they bus people in? Because we have so many services. The services in Charleston, we do have some good services. They are strapped,
Always have been. I actually worked with the unhoused for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, the unhoused, the risk of unhoused, and people were coming out of, like, mental institutions.
Yeah.
So, like, it's... Getting resources is not that easy. Number one, you have to know where to look. Like, it was a big chunk of my job was just to find resources.
Mm-hmm.
Which is honestly part of why I'm doing the podcast.
Yeah.
But
The more people know.
Yeah, which is
We're in much better shape today than we were, say, in 2018 and 19. But when you restrict people's access to care, any kind of care, you have a bigger increase of a lot of different things. One of the things we knew was going to happen, restricting people to a syringe service program, is an increase of HIV.
yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. It absolutely. So when we started SOAR, we would do these like resource fairs, and what we were actually doing was we were going around the city and we were meeting people and we were giving people what they needed.
Right.
Naloxone, safer use supplies, that included syringes, a meal, a sandwich, all the things that they needed to just be safe for a day,
Right. Sometimes just giving them that humanity is
100% is just what they need. We ended up getting so big that we needed to move those fairs to the parking lot here. And it was such a beautiful thing. You would have loved it so much. The whole parking lot was lined with tables, including my carport here. And in the carport, we would have hot coffee, hot cocoa, snacks, things like that, safer sex supplies, shoes, sweatshirts, jackets, blankets, that kind of thing. A place where people could bring their used syringes, which they did do, bring their used syringes to turn them in. Naloxone, my niece, she was just a teenager then. She would have a clipboard and she would have, cases of naloxone, and she would say, did you get naloxone the last time you were here? And people would say, yeah. Did you use it? And people would say yes or no. And how many people did you save with the naloxone that we handed you? We had stacks of these papers of saves each time. I mean, by the time we were done, the stacks of people were it was hundreds and hundreds of people who were able to use the naloxone that we handed out to reverse an overdose. But at the same time, we were partnered with other people, Ron White, CAMC, people like that. And on this porch and in this office, Ron White would offer HIV tests. And it was at these fairs that we uncovered what the CDC would call the most concerning rate of HIV. So if we saw 200 people in a 2-hour span, which is what we were doing, and 2 people got tested for HIV and it turned out positive, that is huge. They were like, oh, we've uncovered something here. Before, the HIV numbers were from unsafe sex and practices like that, or accidental, like it's always accidental, but a blood transfusion, things like that. But we were uncovering HIV that people were getting by unsafe drug use practices.
Right.
And so it was a huge deal, and I will never forget Dr. Christine Teague going, oh, holy shit, what is going on here? And everyone started getting tested, and so they uncovered a lot of brand new cases in different areas, and they were able to start tracking down and able to, but then what happened was the state and the city restricted further syringe service programs, so they started making what we were doing illegal. The city of Charleston even added on like a $10,000, no, that was the state, a misdemeanor charge, that if I were to hand you, Dottie, if you were to say to me, I'm going to use 3 times a day every day for the next week, so I need this many syringes because we want you to use a new syringe every time you use, right. Then I would try to give you that many. They made that illegal. You can't do that anymore. And so while we're uncovering all these brand new HIV cases and trying to, get people into care, which is difficult to do, you can get people where they need to be. They made that illegal, and so it's just backwards, and it's just wrong. And so SOAR has taken many forms, and we show up the best that we can in the time that we're in. We certainly don't show up like we want to anymore, because if I had it my way, I would be giving out what people need to stay
right.
safe. You know what I mean? I don't want you or me or anybody else to show up one day and be sick and have HIV and not be able to get into care and, all these things. But I will never forget, there would be like 7 people staying in a tent, and one of them just test positive for HIV, knowing good and well that they are going to continue to share their syringes with the people because they have to, because they don't have any new ones. But doing that risky behavior like that.
And then they're going to go out and share with 7 more.
Right. And so that was what was happening. And it just was, it was very desperate, and it was very sad to know that our city and state don't care enough about people who use drugs.
It's not that they don't care; it's that they want them dead.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, it really is that way. It really is that way. And one of the local radio hosts, one time said, "I do not carry naloxone. I will step over your body before I try to help you." And that's just like, yikes!
So gross.
It's so weird. Why would you do that? Why would you say that? And
it's because they've been dehumanized. Like we
right.
are
it's a crisis.
Yeah. And I still think it is so bizarre. There's this concept that these people just spawned as drug users out of nowhere.
And that somehow is deeply wrong.
It is. Like, yeah, I mean, you think about it. If you get in, here's the thing, when you start to work with these people, you find out that they had a whole life. And a lot of times they've had that whole life that has tanked on them. And yeah, because of drugs, but like, why do you think they started those drugs? It's not like somebody's like, oh, I woke up today. You know what? My life's doing well. I think I'll go piss it all away.
But even if it, yeah, but the thing is, even if that's your choice, you should be able to make your own choices with dignity. You should be able to be treated with love and respect and dignity, no matter what your choices are. You never ever want me on a jury, because it just is like, okay, I really believe that people should have the autonomy to make what decisions they want to make in their life, and I think they should be safe. always be safe, you know?
Right.
I used drugs for a really long time. I tried to do the math on it. I started when I was 11. Now, of course, I didn't start with putting syringes in my arm, but I started using mood or mind-altering substances when I was 11 years old. I did not stop using drugs until I was 34. So, 23 years?
Wow.
Yeah. And I got out relatively unscathed. But...
So it's like, you know what? Here's the thing. Like, I noticed, like, I do think that making weed legal has kind of helped. That has been a major harm reduction move, because
Totally.
when we were younger, the same guy selling weed was also the same guy selling everything else.
Sure.
But there was a lot more in between.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot more in between. I'm not justifying or condemning anything.
Yeah.
But now there's like weed, and then there's like stuff that will kill you.
There's a lot of stuff that will kill you.
Right. But there's not like, but we were during the pill epidemic. Like, that's kind of led into this. Like,
1,000,000%.
people.
And that's where the opioid funds come from. That
Yeah.
we're able to. I'm really proud of Charleston, because Charleston made their funds, a portion of their funds, available to groups that are doing the work with people who have really suffered,
Yeah.
Are we the same age?
40.
I'm 46, so I'm a little bit older. I came up in the I came up in the pill epidemic myself, and
My
that's the whole
stepmom
thing.
was,
It's
like,
like
one of the
pills are
first.
not even pills anymore.
No, they're not. No,
They're
my
pressed. They have crazy shit in them, and it's just like,
Yeah.
it's just wild.
My stepmother, that's a whole story. That I think she's part of the reason I have compassion for people who have been stuck. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of times, the people who are doing this work are people who have either lost people to the drug epidemic or have been victims themselves. And she was like, she got kind of taken out in that first wave back when you could doctor shop.
Mm-hmm.
And they were pulling out bags and bags and bags. Like, I think people
Like doing
forget
the
that this
pipeline
was,
down to Florida.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people forget that this was a manufactured disaster.
Yeah, it was. When I was not well when I first got into recovery. I had decided the last year that I used drugs, I had learned how to cook meth. And I was so sick by the time I got into recovery that I was sure that the government had taught us how to do that. Or that someone, maybe the people the people who make Sudafed had made this available to us for profit.
We'll just pick up. So, what's something you'd like to see happen in the future? What is a future you are working towards?
Wow. Safe spaces. I'm working towards overdose zero. Each year, for the past couple years, we've been celebrating a reduction in overdose numbers. And I use the word celebrating kind of sarcastically, but truly, you could go and see that it has made news, you know. I want to see overdose zero. So while we're busy celebrating a reduction, it's still a friend. You know what I mean? Every single number, every year that we see from the previous year is still a friend that has lost their lives. And I live and breathe for overdose zero. That's really, and
what do you think we could do to get there? Like, what policy would you like? What would you like to see happen?
Harm reduction everywhere. Harm reduction everywhere. Education, harm reduction, stop hate, early prevention. And when I say that, I don't mean like dare. You know what I mean? I mean really arming our children with the knowledge that they need to make good decisions for themselves and to love their community and to love their community members. Really pouring that compassion and dignity and stuff into our kids, I think, does the prevention piece for us. People are going to make what decisions they make, but every time you make a decision, it's based on what you know, what you've heard, all these things. And so telling people the truth is important to me. Continuing to raise my kids to be loving and accepting, for that generation of people to really be able to be exactly who they are and be okay and be safe. I don't know. Those are all things I'm working towards, I think. Safety.
So, just for a minute, I want you to imagine that you are speaking directly to a lawmaker. What would you say?
So I focused immediately in on West Virginia.
Right. It could be federal, it could be local, it could be somebody that you've got a name for. If you've got a specific lawmaker that pisses you off,
I do, but I will give him no energy whatsoever. Restrictions and rules and laws are not going to make West Virginia safer when it comes to drug use. The more restrictive you are, the more people die. So by putting restrictions on harm reduction programs, by increasing penalties and things like that for people who sell drugs, you're not making West Virginia safer. You are killing people when you do that. We've never been able to penalize our way through the drug epidemic. The war on drugs failed miserably. We have tons of graveyards that show us that. Tons of prison cells that are full. There's still people in prison for selling weed, bro. You know what I mean? To me, that's insane. That is not the way through. Harm reduction and education are the way through, and that's what I would say. Reverse Senate Bill 334, which is the restriction on harm reduction programs. Fund local programming. Fund the people who are doing the work. Across the United States right now, we work with people through Save a Life Day, which is a national day of naloxone, free naloxone day. And we're in all 50 states in year 7. I think we're in year 7. Started as a two county pilot, and the first year we went to two counties of Save Life Day. Went to 17 counties, went to 55 counties, went to all the states in Appalachia, went to every state this side of the Mississippi, and last year was our first year where we were nationwide. It's the fourth Sunday in September every year. And that's why I have a planning call in just a few minutes for this year. And we hear from people across the United States that they can't even say the word harm reduction, or their funding stops from the federal government. Yeah. This is not the way. This is the restrictions and the penalties and things like that is not the way. And I hate that we have to keep learning the same lesson over and over and over again. We don't have to be stupid. We don't have to participate in the stupidity of the war on drugs. It didn't work. It's never going to work. It's never going to work. People use drugs. Drugs do what they're supposed to do. Let's educate. Let's offer compassion and dignity and the things that people really need. When we were able to give syringes, we were able to say to a person, how many syringes do you need? You won't see me for 2 weeks. How many syringes do you need? And somebody to say 30. And I'm like, is that a real number? And to really challenge someone. Don't church it up. Tell me what you actually need to stay safe. Nobody had ever asked them that before. You know what I mean?
Right.
The expectation for people who live this life every single day is to be treated like shit, to have to hide who they really are, and they're not going to get what they need, you know.
Right.
And I want it to be the opposite of that. I want people to get what they need to be safe.
And I mean, sometimes just keeping them from going over that cliff
Yes.
the first time saves their whole life, not just their existence on the planet, but home and hearth and such.
Yep. I think a lot about Maria. I'm so proud of Maria right now. Like, I could burst. Her life has changed so much because the way that she gets treated in the community that she has built for herself is full of compassion, full of understanding, and full of people that really give a shit about her. And it has made the biggest difference in her life, and even the way she carries herself. You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny.
She's awake.
The most visible indicator is in her dress.
Yeah.
Like she covers. I won't say she covers herself more, but she dresses more like somebody who respects themselves.
Yep. Yeah,
You know?
She's perfect. I love her so much, and she feels good about herself, and she should feel good about herself. She's recently housed. She has a safe place to go to every single night. She has community that she has built for herself. Has a routine, and she doesn't use drugs anymore. But she's been able to find a way for herself and find a routine that feels healthy and right for her.
Right.
And she's had the ability to do that in the community, to do that, and she's found it in UU, and she's found it at the shop and different programs that she touches base with. But she feels like she belongs now, and that means everything to me.
That's a great example. So one of the big things, because this is going to be hope for, like, that is the purpose of Woke Up West Virginia. We're not turning away from the dark spots, but we are looking to a future that we want to create.
Yeah.
And so, how can people get involved? What is a small action that people can do, like write their senator about that bill and how they?
Well, there's no action right now to undo Senate Bill 334. I think the basic action that people can do every day is to not turn away from something that maybe makes them feel funny. So someone panhandling, something, whatever, to really meet your community members and really meet your neighbors, and you'll figure out there's no monster. It's just a person. You know what I mean? Get involved in your community. Don't turn your eyes if something makes you uncomfortable. Learn more about something. One of my favorite volunteers at SOAR, our mutual aid, is Brenda. And Brenda shared with me once that she got involved because she felt fear of, unhoused people, fear of this, fear of that, and that it made her uncomfortable. And she wanted to push back on that. And so she got involved, and now she is an everyday SOAR volunteer. She plans and shops for and cooks and serves a meal for over 210 people each month. And she's a badass, and she leaned into that fear and faced it and figured out there was no monster. You know what I mean? There was just people. And so that's the action that everybody can do that every single day, is to, look a little bit closer and realize there's no monster there, and, participate. And you'll figure out how to get involved once you do that. You'll start showing up for people, and you'll start doing what you can to participate in your community in a deeper and more meaningful way. That's what I think.
Let the plane fly by. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the challenge is figure out there's no monster. And if there is a monster, it's because we created it. You know what I mean?
I say most of the
nobody's like this on accident. There's a lot of trauma here. There's a lot of trauma in this soil. There's a lot of trauma. And there's a lot of bad things that have happened here to a lot of really good people. And
how could people get involved in SOAR?
So you can always email. Check out our Facebook. It's SOAR West Virginia. You can email us at soarwv@gmail.com. and say, hey, I want to get involved. Save a Life Day is coming up in September 24th, I think, this year. And then we have a monthly mutual aid, which is the third Wednesday of every single month. And we host that at the Kanawha United Presbyterian Church. Show up. Send us a message, send us an email, and ask us, what can I do to get my hands in this? There's always a role to be filled. I promise you that. Last night we saw, I think, 180 people, and we were used to over 200, so it was kind of a lighter night, and it was a good time. It was a good time.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching the very second episode of Woke Up West Virginia.
Thank you for having me. That was cool.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
So
you have good energy, good vibes. Good vibes. Right.
Thank y'all for coming. You can follow us for all the fun on Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. If y'all wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate it if you liked, shared, subscribed, and told a friend. And remember, watch out for the deer and look out for each other.